You hear your own voice every day. From the moment you said your first word, you have spent more time with that voice than with any other sound in your life. And yet, you have no idea what it actually sounds like. Hit record on your phone. Say any sentence. Play it back. That moment, when something tightens inside your chest, everyone knows it. That thin, nasal, unfamiliar voice coming out of the speaker. That is not you. That cannot be you. In 2023, researchers from Harvard and Mass Eye and Ear surveyed 1,500 Americans. 57% disliked their voice on a recording. More than half said they would change it if they could. But before we break down why this happens, let's talk about a man who captured a voice and never got to hear it. In April of 1860, a Parisian typographer named Edouard Léon Scott de Martinville sang Au clair de la lune into the horn of his own invention, the phonautograph. A needle scratched a trembling line across a sheet of soot-blackened paper. It was the first recording of a human voice in history. But Scott built his machine as a visual tool. He wanted to see sound the way a seismograph sees an earthquake. He never figured out how to play it back, and he died in 1879 without ever hearing a single sound he had saved. His recordings sat in archives for 148 years. In 2008, a team of audio historians, led by David Giovannoni, digitally scanned those blackened sheets and played them back for the very first time. Most likely, it was the voice of Scott's own daughter. By then, both father and daughter had long turned to dust. 17 years after Scott's recording, in December of 1877, Thomas Edison shouted, "Mary had a little lamb," into a tinfoil cylinder and heard his own voice played back to him. His machinist John Cruzy went pale. The engineers in the room fell silent. Edison would later say, "I was never so taken aback in my life. I was always afraid of things that worked the first time." And contemporaries described Edison's recorded voice as surprisingly thin despite his bravado in person. The inventor of sound recording, the first documented human being who did not like the sound of his own voice on a recording. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? You have probably heard the standard explanation before. When you speak, sound reaches your ears through two different paths. The first is through the air, the same way you hear every other sound. The second is through vibrations in your skull, your throat, and your chest, traveling directly into your inner ear. And that second channel boosts the low frequencies. Your skull is a built-in subwoofer. It adds bass that no recording can capture. When you listen to a recording, the subwoofer is off. All you get is the air channel. The voice sounds higher, thinner, like it belongs to someone else. But that bone subwoofer is not a glitch, and it is not an accident. It is 250 million years old. Your middle ear bones, the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup, used to be part of the jaw. Literally. In cynodonts, the ancestors of all mammals during the Triassic period, the lower jaw transmitted vibrations from the ground directly into the inner ear. Over 250 million years, evolution turned those jawbones into hearing organs, but the connection between your skull and your ear never went away. When you hear your own voice through bone, you are using a channel that is older than the dinosaurs. But bone conduction is just the physics. The real reason you feel uncomfortable hearing yourself goes deeper. It is about what the recording reveals. In 1966, psychologists Philip Holtzman and Clyde Rousey at the Menninger Foundation ran a series of experiments. They recorded people's voices and played them back. The reaction was consistently negative. But their key finding had nothing to do with pitch. Holtzman and Rousey discovered that what bothers people is not how the voice sounds. It is what the voice gives away. They gave it a name: voice confrontation. The recording captures unintentional leakage, the insecurity you thought you had hidden, the microtension in your throat when you were searching for the right word, the anxiety you did not want anyone to notice. In their own words, the listener is confronted with expressive qualities of the voice which the subject had not intended to express and was not aware of having expressed. The recording does not distort you. The recording is too honest, and you are used to the edited version. And here is something strange. You might actually like your voice, but only as long as you do not know it is yours. A study published in the journal Perception in 2013 found that when people were asked to rate voice recordings without being told which one was theirs, they consistently rated their own voice as more attractive than others. Secretly, you like yourself. But the moment someone tells you that one is you, the confrontation kicks in and everything falls apart. Why? How does your brain even know that voice is yours? And why does that information trigger such a strong reaction? In 2008, a team of neuroscientists at UCLA, Kaplan, Aziz Zadeh, Udine, and Iacoboni ran fMRI scans while participants listened to their own voice and to voices of close friends. When a person heard themselves, the right inferior frontal gyrus lit up, the same region that activates when you see your own face in a mirror. Your brain does not process your voice as just a sound. It processes it as part of your identity. But at the same time, when you are speaking out loud, your auditory cortex actually turns down the volume on your own voice. Your brain predicts what you are about to say and suppresses the signal so you can hear the world around you better. You are literally only half listening to yourself. Then a recording delivers that same voice at full volume, unfiltered, and for a split second your brain categorizes it as someone else. Then it realizes the someone else is you. That gap between stranger and self is the chill you feel every single time. But if your voice is part of your identity, where exactly does it live? Surgeons found the answer, and it breaks everything you thought you knew about the human voice. In 1998, the Cleveland Clinic performed the world's first larynx transplant. The patient, Timothy Heidler, had lost his voice in a motorcycle accident. He received a donor's larynx. When he spoke, the voice that came out was his own, not the donor's. In 2010, a second transplant. In 2024, a third at the Mayo Clinic. Every time, the same result. Your voice is not your vocal cords. The vocal cords are just a vibrator. Your voice is shaped by the entire vocal tract. Your skull, your sinuses, your jaw, your tongue, your palate. Take the strings off one guitar and put them on another. What you will hear is the body of the guitar, not the strings. Your voice is not an organ. Your voice is your entire body. Pause for a second. That voice on the recording, the one that makes you wince, it was made by your body. Every curve of your palate, every sinus cavity in your skull, the shape of your jaw, all of it plays a part. It is not a flaw. It is your acoustic fingerprint. And now, a question that opens something unsettling. If your voice is a fingerprint of your body, what happens when AI learns to copy that fingerprint without a body? In 2025, researchers at UC Berkeley ran an experiment. They played people a mix of real voices and AI-generated clones. Participants could only tell the fake from the real 60% of the time. A coin flip would give you 50. We are barely able to tell our own real voice from one a machine made up. But here is where it gets really interesting. You can barely recognize your own adult voice on a recording, and yet there is one voice you recognized before you were even born. In 1980, psychologists DeCasper and Pfeiffer showed that newborns less than 3 days old already prefer their mother's voice over a stranger's. They memorized it in the womb. You fell in love with someone's voice before you ever saw anyone's face, and your own voice, the one you will carry for the rest of your life, you still cannot listen to it without flinching. But that can change. And it is simpler than you think. Psychologists call it exposure therapy. Record yourself every day, not for anyone else. A voice memo on your phone, a passing thought out loud, a few lines from a book. 2 minutes. Listen back. The first week will feel rough. After a month, your brain will start updating its internal model of your voice, and the gap between what you expect and what you hear will begin to close. There is also an instant trick. Cup your hands behind your ears and push them forward. Start talking. You are redirecting more of the air-conducted sound back into your ear canals and dialing down the bone channel. The voice you hear will be closer to what everyone else hears. Try it right now. Seriously. Say your own name out loud. Weird, right? There is no such thing as your real voice. There is the version inside your head, carried through a channel that is 250 million years old. There is the version others hear, traveling through the air, carrying every bit of unintentional honesty you cannot control. And there is the recording. None of them is a lie. All three are you. In 1860, Scott de Martinville caught a voice on soot-blackened paper and never got to hear it. You have something he never did. You can press play. And instead of flinching, you can meet the version of yourself that the rest of the world has been listening to all along.